Hi there, everyone. Welcome back to those who have been following, and special welcome, especially to my grade 9 students, to those who have been tuning in for the first time. I'm glad to have you here. Today, we'll be looking on history. The topic for today is the importance of history. And of course, you would be needing your notebooks, pens, and pencils as usual. And remember, for the grade 9 students, you have an assignment based on this topic. So please remember to take your notes. So the objectives are 1. Explain what is history, and 2. Outline the importance of history. We have already gone through what is history in class, but I just want to reinforce this. History is a chronological study of past events relating to human history. By chronological, I mean from old to new. Therefore, history is the study of social, economic, and political relations having to do with human beings. The history that we study in school, of course, is not everything. It has to be specific as to social, economic, and political development. So, of course, what happened in school yesterday was important. What happened at home over the weekend was important. But the history that we study in school has to do with human development and human nature on a whole. Now let's get right into the importances of history. And the first one, of course, is that history is fun. History is fun because learning about history can be a great deal of fun. We have movies and other arts about our past to prove it. History is full of some interesting and fascinating stories like pirates and treasures, mysteries, adventures, all of those. And we're going to look on some of these examples. If you see, the first example is the Titanic. Remember the story of the Titanic ship being sunk? That is a part of history, of course. It is a true story. So remember, one of the elements of history that we did in school is facts. So it has to be factual things. So we have the Titanic, which is history. It's a movie. We have the Mona Lisa, the painting from the Renaissance period when Europe was developing. We have a picture of Bob Marley, which shows his music, which is telling us about his music, and the things that he's portraying is telling us about Black history. History helps us to understand the world. Let me tell you a quick thing. Did you know that before the Renaissance and Reformation in Europe, before people discovered the world and know what it was like, people thought that we could fall off the world if we travel too far? Yes. So it is history that we know how society works. It looks on technology, government systems, how the world works on a whole. Where are we in the universe as people? It just tells us who we are as a people, and it helps us to, of course, develop an appreciation for the developments that humans have made. For example, the history of cell phones. Look at the first picture there in 1982. Could you carry that around in your pocket as compared to the one in 2007 or 2010? So, history is important because it teaches us about how technology has developed, and as well as look on this one, transportation. You can see where they used to use wheels and boats and horses for travel, other animals like cows and oxes. And now we have our automobile cars. History helps us to understand other people's culture. And this is very important. As students of history, we need to develop an understanding and appreciation and tolerance and respect for other people's culture. And as history students, we understand how people and society behave. And history helps us to explain why they do the things they do, like eat the type of food they eat, why they dress the way they dress, and so on. In many ways, and you can see it today in society, people are products of their environment. And this includes the eras in which they were born and, of course, the culture that they were born in. Let us look on one aspect that I know you're going to be surprised at is Chinese foods. Yes, of course, they might eat certain things that we don't eat as Jamaicans, but does that make us them worse than us or different than us? Yes, they're different than us, but does that make us better than them? No, it is their culture. So of course, a lot of people might think that us eating goat meat is something like them eating other animals like the dogs and rats and all of those things that you hear about in China. Just like how we have our different denominations in church. The Sabbath keepers wouldn't eat the pork, while Sunday worshippers would enjoy pork, some of them. And wouldn't the Sabbath keeper frown upon pork eating, but we do not as Sunday worshippers. So it's just the same thing. So Chinese, Indians, whatever race you are, black, white, we have different culture. We dress differently. But as history students, it helps us to understand other people' culture and why they eat and do what they do. It shapes cultural and national identity. History is important to identity. It is history that we learn about how countries and families and groups were formed and evolved and developed over time. So it is through history that people tell their story of how ever hear about the story of how humans developed. Remember us in the Caribbean, our first ancestors, the Arawaks and the Tainos, they were nomadic herdsmen, meaning that they traveled, they followed their food. They followed their food. They didn't establish their houses. They didn't have any cattle raising. All they did was lived and followed their food until they established somewhere in the Caribbean. Then over time the Europeans came and met them, and history just helps us to understand all what happened, how we have evolved as a people and developed over time. And it's important to look on the family structure. Why is it that things like in people like Indians have such a large family? It is their tradition. And Africans as well, why we have such a large family, because of plantation life and slavery. We were gathered as a big group on the plantation. We had to form our own family after being taken away from our homeland. All right? History can teach us to be better citizens. And let me tell you why. It is through history that we learn about our rights as a people, our right to life, our right to vote, as you can see in the photo. And it is through history that we learn about how people worked hard in the past to fight for our rights. And we're able to understand how important it is. Because before, as black people, we could not vote even in our own country. It was because if you couldn't vote, because you would have to own land, you would have to have money, and you would have to be white. So our heroes now fought for our rights, and that is where universal adult suffrage came in, and every adult citizens who are registered are now able to vote. And there's a photo of our national heroes who fought for our rights. History helps us how to do research. You can research about any topic in school, and it is history that can help you to do this. It is history, through history, that we learn. We have books because people do their research. And this practice can teach you how to decipher between reliable, and unreliable sources. And we're going to look on primary and secondary sources and look into which ones are reliable and which ones are unreliable sources. And through research, of course, we can improve our critical thinking. And every student of history should dig deeper than just memorizing names and dates. That is why I stress in class that, okay, students, you don't need to have to recall this information, you just need to understand it. So it is through history that we need learn to understand things and exercise critical thinking. And through research, this is also brought out. And this leads us to protecting us from conspiracy theory. So because we're able to do research and because we improve our critical thinking, now we're more intelligent. And it will protect you from conspiracy theory. It's meaning that you remember when COVID-19 came about and these WhatsApp messages were sending around, the vaccine has chip in it. The vaccine is a war. The COVID-19 virus is a war weapon that was sent to China. All of this is conspiracy theory. And because we're students of history, we learn that these theories tend to spread faster during stressful, chaotic times, and we are able to do our own research and think critically and find out now which source did we get this from. Is it a reliable source? Is it an unreliable source? And we're able to understand different disturbances in society and see that, okay, things like this will happen. Things like this will happen over time. A pandemic happened before with the Spanish flu, and things like this is going to happen to people. And what do? We look to medicine to help us. So we will understand that, okay, them giving us vaccine or making it available to us is not them putting any chip or no world order and saying that, oh, it is 5G technology that is causing it or anything. All right. History helps us to make better decisions, of course. Those who do not learn from their past are doomed to repeat it. And this is one of the most famous quotes about history. If we commit to changing based on what we know, we can make better decisions. Remember, one of two elements of history are cause and effect. So because we know the cause of these events, we are able to make better decisions to prevent the negative effects that it might have on us. And climate change is a perfect example. We're seeing where governments are moving towards sustainable development, which means they're moving towards trying to make the environment more friendly and so that it can be preserved for the future generations. So they're moving towards, you see, a few years ago, it was last year, that the Jamaican government went into banning plastic bags, and now we're taking our reusable bags to the supermarket. We're looking towards no fires. Who at your home, they're trying to get the garbage out of the communities. And we do this because what? We are reducing the pollution of the environment so that we can have less things like storms and hurricanes. And I'm glad I went to that example, because it is through history that we know that, okay, from June to November would be the hurricane season. So guess what we're going to do? We're going to prepare ourselves or we know that it is going to rain for most of those time, and simply bring in our umbrellas. So history helps us to make this better decisions as a people. We know that we should not be eating certain foods because guess what, these foods are linked to obesity or health problem. So we learn from history as we go along, and we make better decisions than those who have made the mistakes. History opens up job opportunities. If you look in any career, history is embedded in that career. History is a part of that career choice. A degree in history opens up more career options than you might think. You can have find jobs in government, business, media. You can be a lawyer. You can be a politician, librarian, history teacher, archaeologist, a filmmaker. So history basically opens up job opportunities. And let us just look back on why history is important. Let us look on the main points again. So history is fun. We learn about arts and so on in history. It helps us to understand how the world works. History helps us to understand other people's culture. It shapes cultural and national identity. It helps us to become better citizens. It teaches us how to do research, improve our critical thinking. It protects people from conspiracy theories. It helps people make better decisions. Studying history open up job opportunities, and that is basically it. We're going to do a little quiz, nothing too hard, just testing our knowledge, and we have the words there for you to pick up from. Let me just zoom it out a bit. So history is the study of dash events. So you're going to look on the words up there: mistakes, culture, past, understand, or decision. And of course, history is the study of past events. Then, history helps us to avoid the dash of others, to avoid the mistakes of others, of course. History can help us make dash about the future. History can help us make mistakes, no. Culture, no. Past, no. We used that already. To make decisions about the future. Learning about the past help us understand the present. Number 5, history helps us to learn about the dash of other people. And of course, it is culture of other people. Great job if you got them on the first attempt. Let us now look on the assignment. Pause right here. So you're going to do a 1-page essay. And by 1 page, I don't mean that you should be writing like 3 words in 1 line. It is about probably 1 page or 100 words or so. I'm just telling you the limit so that people don't go over too much or take this too hard. So on a 1-page essay on the theme, history is important and should be studied in schools. And it is worth 10 marks. In your essay, you should include 3 of the reasons why history is important, and you're going to give examples just like I did in the slides. I don't really want my examples back. You can be creative. So you could give similar examples, but not the exact same ones. Alright? 2 ways in which history can help students in schools. Alright? How can history help students in school? And we look through many of those, like with the researching, thinking critically, and so on. And one way history can help you personally as a student. For me personally, history has helped me to develop more tolerance for others and other people's culture personally. So it is through history and being a history teacher and studying history, that I learned that, alright, certain things that people do, it is their culture. You're gonna get culture shock, of course, but what is there to do? It is a part of their culture, because guess what? Some things that you might do might be a culture shock for them. So all we can do is show respect and be tolerant. And your writing would be one mark. By writing, I mean that if you have your sentences correct and you're using paragraph forms, whether or not your whole paragraph is one sentence, yes. Alright, so the importance of history will be discussed during class time. I will do this for the classes that I didn't go through, and then you'll be submitting this homework the following week. So when you get back to class for the school for the other week, I will be taking these and grading them. Have a wonderful rest of the day. Bye. Thank you for tuning in.